I agree with you, Doctor. 6 months for what? I asked. 6 months for the projectile to insist before the knee can be opened safely. I don't believe it, I said. Do you want to keep your knee, young man? No, I said. What? I want it cut off, I said, so I can wear a hook on it. What do you mean, a hook? He's joking, said the doctor. He patted my shoulder very delicately. He wants to keep his knee. This is a very brave young man. He has been proposed for the Silver Medal of Valor. All my felicitations, said the first captain. He shook my hand. I can only say that to be on the safe side, you should wait at least 6 months before opening such a knee. You are welcome, of course, to another opinion. Thank you very much, I said. I value your opinion. The first captain looked at his watch. We must go. All my best wishes. All my best wishes and many thanks, I said, and shook hands with the third doctor, Capitano Verini, Tenente Henri. And they all three went out of the room. Miss Gage, I called. She came in. Please ask the house doctor to come back a minute. He came in holding his cap and stood by the bed. Did you wish to see me? Yes, I can't wait 6 months to be operated on. My God, doctor, did you ever stay in bed 6 months? You won't be in bed all the time. You must first have the wounds exposed to the sun. Then afterward you can be on crutches for 6 months and then have an operation. That is the safe way. The foreign bodies must be allowed to insist, and the synovial fluid will reform. Then it will be safe to open up the knee. Do you really think yourself I will have to wait that long? That is the safe way. What is the first captain? Oh, who is that first captain? He's a very excellent surgeon of Milan. He's a first captain, isn't he? Yes, but he is an excellent surgeon. I don't want my leg fooled with by a first captain. If he was any good, he would have made major. I know what a first captain is, doctor. He is an excellent surgeon, and I would rather have his judgment than any surgeon I know. Could any other surgeon see it? Certainly, if you wish, but I would take Dr. Valera's opinion myself. Could you ask another surgeon to come and see it? I will ask Valentini to come. Who is he? He is a surgeon of the Ospedale Maggiore. Good, I appreciate it very much. You understand, doctor, I couldn't stay in bed 6 months. You would not be in bed. You would first take a sun cure, then you could have light exercise. Then when it was incised, we would operate. But I can't wait 6 months. The doctor spread his delicate fingers on the cap he held and smiled. You're in such a hurry to get back to the front? Why not? It is very beautiful, he said. You are a noble young man. He stooped over and kissed me very delicately on the forehead. I will send for Valentini. Do not worry and excite yourself. Be a good boy. Will you have a drink? I asked. No, thank you. I never drink alcohol. Just have one. I rang for the porter to bring glasses. No, thank you. They are waiting for me. Goodbye, I said. Goodbye. 2 hours later, Dr. Valentini came into the room. He was in a great hurry, and the points of his mustache stood straight up. He was a major, his face was tanned, and he laughed all the time. How did you do it, this rotten thing, he asked. Let me see the plates. Yes, that's it. You look healthy as a goat. Who's the pretty girl? Is she your girl? I thought so. Isn't this a bloody war? How does that feel? You're a fine boy. I'll make you better than new. Does that hurt? You bet it hurts. How they love to hurt you, these doctors. What have they done for you so far? Can't that girl talk Italian? She should learn. What a lovely girl. I could teach her. I'll be a patient here myself. No, I will do all your maternity work for free. Does she understand that? She will make you a fine boy, a fine blonde like she is. That's fine. That's all right. What a lovely girl. Ask her if she eats supper with me. No, I don't take her away from you. Thank you. Thank you very much, miss. That's all. That's all I wanted to know. He patted me on the shoulder. Leave the dressings off. Will you have a drink, Dr. Valentini? A drink? Certainly. I will have 10 drinks. Where are they? In the armoire. Miss Barkley, will you get the bottle? Cheerio. Cheerio to you, miss. What a lovely girl. I will bring you better cognac than that. He wiped his mustache. When do you think it can be operated on? Tomorrow morning. Not before. Your stomach must be emptied. You must be washed out. I will see the old lady downstairs and leave instructions. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll bring you better cognac than that. You're very comfortable here. Goodbye. Until tomorrow, get a good sleep. I'll see you early. He waved from the doorway. His mustache went straight up. His brown face was smiling. There was a star in a box on his sleeve because he was a major. And that concludes chapter 15 of book 2. So a few quick facts. Anesthesia, called snow, was probably procaine, or what we call Novocaine. It's the non-addictive derivative of cocaine. And an X-ray is an electromagnetic high-energy shortwave that can pass through materials that are opaque to light. So it basically takes a photograph. Then it took photographs. Now they're probably digital images of the internal compositions of the body. So, like, it looks at the bones and the shrapnel, obviously, in this case. So, ospedale maggiore in Italian just means major hospital. The plates that they're referring to are the photographic negatives. They're like windows. They're glass plates that they put the negatives on top of so that they can be held up to the light. And the foreign bodies that he was referring to, that was a little bit weird because he was talking about pieces of shrapnel that are lodged, and that's like the second or third time they've referenced like oddly shaped shrapnel, because from my research, all of the bombs that explode, that shrapnel bombs, they're called personnel bombs, as disgusting as that is. It's basically, they're designed just to kill people or injure people, to cause casualties. And the way that they're manufactured, they use these small round, like BBs or whatever, round metal balls. And it looks like, from the diagram I saw, it looks like an auger in the middle that kind of pushes them out, projects them out. And so it would be impossible for a shell to have just junk parts in it, from what I could tell. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But it's kind of interesting because I think they're what they might be referring to, or attempting to refer to, is what they would call jam tin grenades. Like in the Battle of Gallipoli, they didn't have they weren't manufacturing grenades. It was a Turkish conflict, and the British didn't have grenades, the Turks did. And so they would have to pick up pieces of shrapnel from the Turkish grenades, and they would use empty jam tins. I guess jam came in a tin. Probably everything came in a tin. And so they would empty out their jam tins and shove it with whatever shrapnel. Like, they would walk around and pick up shrapnel from the other grenades, from the opposing side's grenades, and then make their own crappy little grenades. And they weren't very accurate because they were just made out of tin cans. Not like the ones that their enemy had. But for like 2 months or something, they didn't have anything. And so they had to make their own grenades. And they were filled with whatever they could find. Razor blades, they didn't care. And so I think that's a much more dramatic or romantic story. I'm not saying he didn't have shrapnel in his legs, but it would probably not have been that descriptive, the type that he's describing there. But it just makes the enemy seem a lot more of an enemy, more evil, I guess. So it would be perpetuating some myth or propaganda. Because the claim that they used bed springs or screws or whatever, that there's no evidence that I found to back it up. If you know of any, please let me know. Because I could be, very easily be misinformed. But the appendix, when he was talking about that, a doctor who can't take out your appendix refers you to someone who can't take out your tonsils. Why that's an insult is because they're located in two different parts of the body. The appendix is in your abdomen, tonsils are in your throat. But he was trying to just show, I guess, how inept they were. Articulation, it's the degree of, degrees of rotation. And I'm no surgeon, but I would think that testing articulation is a dumbass idea. So anyway, those are all the quick facts that I have. Oh, no, I did want to say, when I was talking about the, in the wound or whatever, the fragments needed to be assisted, that it's ACYSTED. That means to be closed up. And when they were talking about the fluid, the synovial fluid, that's just the stuff that naturally sits in the liquid that sits in between all of our joints, so that it's not just bone on bone. You can, as you age, lose a lot of that fluid, but it's normal that there would be extra fluid in that area. But when he was talking about that the fluid needed to be reformed, he was just talking about back to normal levels, I would suspect. Which, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but it still didn't make a whole lot of sense. It sounded like they were kind of making excuses for not wanting to do the surgery. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. But it was interesting. So my impressions, I think the contrast between the types of doctors, right, their personalities and expertise, meaning the three doctors that didn't say much, that didn't seem to know much, that were being very cautious, even the house doctor who didn't drink or partake of any, right? He seemed very conservative and very sweet, versus the other guy, the major that he called in for a second opinion. He was like, I'll have 10 drinks with you, like a complete opposite. And so I don't know if that was real or just a writer's falsification for dramatic reasons. But it's just kind of interesting that there was such a contrast between their personalities, their levels of expertise, or apparent expertise, and their diagnoses. So it's another one of those counterpoint juxtaposition things that Hemingway is famous for injecting into his stories. But it does point out that, there are talkers and there are doers. And so this set of three doctors were stupid and decisive. They clearly lack confidence in their own abilities. And I say that because that's how most people would interpret indecision. It conveys insecurity and incompetence, unfortunately. The major from the hospital, he was a trip, but because he spoke quickly and with confidence, he was perceived as more competent, more powerful, I guess, than the other three. And if you're not looking at the text, you wouldn't know this, but he kind of rambles on without interruption for like a full page. And I think it was written that way to demonstrate his rate of speech and his boisterous personality, how he dominates the conversation. And it's kind of an interesting fact, but all the research shows that people who do that, talk quickly, talk over people, are often perceived as more competent than people who are polite and considerate and speak at a normal or slower rate. The slower you speak, the less competent you appear. to the average person. Isn't that stupid? Anyway, can't fight evolutionary psychology, I guess. But I guess I had a little bit of an issue with the doctor, the boisterous one, because it felt a little inappropriate for him to volunteer to, I think what it said, to do her maternity work or whatever it was. That seemed a little perverse to me. If you're in a doctor's office and the doctor who's treating your boyfriend is like, yeah, I'll be your gynecologist, he'd be canceled in today's world, at least in my culture. I don't know. But it may be a foreshadowing of what's ahead in the story. So maybe that's the only reason that that's in there. I hope that wasn't normal behavior for physicians. But I think he was trying to be charming, and I think maybe in 1918 or something there were different rules for humans, and so looking at it from the situational cultural context of that time, maybe it wasn't inappropriate. It would be mad appropriate today. In my communications classes, in fact, we discuss nonverbal channels like touch, and so the subject of professional touch is very pertinent because it can be very confusing for young people sometimes, right? I have to warn my students about what is considered appropriate and inappropriate touch from a professional standpoint, because it can be very intimate and invasive. And I have to encourage them to try to develop messages in advance so that if they ever are in a situation where they're being made to feel uncomfortable, they'll know what to say and not freeze up. There are incidences like that all the time, like the Larry Nassar guy that did that to young women's gymnastics for years. I don't know if you heard that story, but he was the official doctor for USA Gymnastics, and he would work with professional female athletes and touch them inappropriately, repeatedly, and his behavior was often excused, and because they were not told that it was okay to say no, they just dealt with it until they finally started, I guess, exchanging notes and opened up a conversation around it. And it was over 100 victims, I think, that he reportedly had, and it happened over years. And it's hard for me to have that conversation with my students sometimes, but I feel like it's irresponsible not to, and that's the only reason I'm mentioning it here, because some adults will take advantage of others using their power and position. In Hispanic culture, it's customary to condition children to show affection to every adult in the room. So if they walk in with your kid, he or she from very young age is supposed to walk around and give everyone a hug, like at a party or family gathering, family, friends, whoever is in the room. They consider it polite or respectful. And it sounds kind of precious, and it's really sweet to have a little kid come up and, just give you a hug, but it makes me cringe every time I see it. Because think about the message that sends to that child. They're basically being told that they don't have a choice of whether or not to touch an adult, or whether or not they want to be touched by adults. So, think about how easy that is for them to fall victim to a predator. Don't make your kids hug or kiss adults unless they want to. And if that's your rule, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say, I don't say this in class, but I'm going to say it here because this is my podcast and I do what I want. Sorry. But it should come naturally. Children should have the choice of whether or not they want to show affection to adults. They should always have their agency, meaning their freedom of choice. And if you take it away from them, I don't know, it's not good. They should never be taught to perform for another person's enjoyment. Anyway, sorry, that's all I have to say about chapter 15 of book 2. So I will continue reading chapter 16 of book 1 next time, of Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. And I want to thank you if you've made it this far in the podcast series. And I even want to offer you a special gift. I made these commemorative mugs. Well, I wanted one for myself. It's just got a picture of Ernest on the cup. And I just wanted something while I'm recording my podcast to drink out of that's kind of on brand. And so I made myself one, and I have a few extras. And so if you want one, leave a comment. No tariffs. Disclaimer, I am not collecting anyone's information. This is just supposed to be a fun, entertaining thing to do. And I will never solicit you for any reason. I am a purveyor of prose. So this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. So anyway, long conclusion, but please join me again for more tea and bedtime stories. I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks for listening.